Hey, what's up? So here's five books I think you can read in your 20s, and I'll put them right here on the screen so you can just take a look and go read them. But I say you can read them. I don't want to put any pressure on you. I feel like if you don't read them, it's gonna be fine, so no worries. But if you do read them, I think it would benefit you a lot, and I feel like I benefit a lot from them. And the thing with books is that books are kind of long, and they kind of just have like one main idea, and you don't really need to read the entire book to get that idea. So I'll go ahead and just kind of summarize what I got out of the books and how it helped me, and maybe it can help you as well. So the first book that I read that I have on this list is called The Millionaire Next Door, and I read this book when I was like 22. And the main point of this book, they basically profile actual millionaires in America, and they basically figure out like what they do, what they wear, where they work, how they save, etc. And the result is that statistically, millionaires are really good at saving money, right? A lot of them actually don't make a ton of money. They're just really good at saving and investing. And when I read it when I was 22, it kind of gave me the confidence to save money, right? Because when you're at that age, like that's when you first start working, and then everyone's like, there's a lot of social pressure to spend money, right? And then for me, I always wanted to not spend money, but then I felt bad about it because I felt cheap, or I felt like I was like everyone else. Does everyone have like way more money than me? And then I just felt all this social pressure. But once I read this book, I was like, oh, actually, people that spend a lot of money don't necessarily have a lot of money, right? And that kind of just clicked something for me where I was like, oh, this is what I want to do, and just gave me the confidence to continue to do that. Um, and yeah, typically like when I view things now, when I see someone spend a lot of money, I don't think, oh, this guy must have a lot of money. I just think this guy would have more money if he didn't spend that money he just spent on that expensive thing, right? And then a plus was like I just happened to lend this book to my wife when we first started dating, and she read it. And over the next like I don't know 5 years, I was kind of like just like slowly bringing her over to my way of thinking. And this book helped a lot. And then we ended up getting married, and because of this book, and because of like we're in agreement with how we view money, like the marriage is a lot easier because we have the same values when it comes to spending. The second book I have on this list is called The Happiness Advantage, and this book I think is really important to read it when you're young, like or just in general, read it right now. But like if you're younger and you read this, you kind of grasp this concept. It's is going to be really helpful. I think it'll save you a lot of heartache and headache, and pain as you kind of grow in your career. And the idea is this: it's basically successful people are successful because they're happy, not the other way around, right? So if someone is rich, more than likely they're rich because they're happy. They're not happy because they're rich. Like the happiness is what caused them being successful. It's not that they're happy now that they're successful, right? And it goes into like all these things. I think the guy that wrote it, like has like a PhD in happiness at Harvard, and he explains why like successful people that kind of look to the bright side, are just able to see more opportunities. They're able to their minds more clear. They're able to just look at the bright side of everything, so that they're able to accelerate their careers better. They're able to see more opportunities with friends and everything. And it's just like, hey, if you're happy, you have a much higher chance of success. Like that's like a fact. It's proven by science. And I have a lot of friends that are like this. I have a lot of friends that are like just really happy all the time, best case scenario all the time, and they're really successful. And how it helped me is like it kind of helped me to realize I need to stop looking in the future, because basically when you're coming up, you're just like, man, I can't wait until this happens, then I'll be happy, right? I can't wait until that happens, then I'll be happy. And then when you get there, you realize, oh, I'm not happy, right? And you do that enough times, and you're just like, okay, like fuck, I gotta do something else. So the idea is like, hey, just be happy now. Happiness comes from within. Be happy now, and then that success will follow. So that book was super helpful. Atomic Habits was really helpful as well to me. And basically, the idea I got in Atomic Habits is basically everything stacks, right? So every little thing that you do just stacks. If you're going a long distance and you just change the angle a little bit, it's going to make a big difference the longer you go, right? So your life is really long. So everything you're doing right now is going to show in somewhere in the future. And this was actually hard for me to grasp because I don't know what it is. I still have a really hard time seeing cause and effect, right? So I'll just give you a really dumb example. But like when I was in my 20s, like I would wear contacts, and then I would take them out and then put them in the case at night, and then I would not cover it, and then I would get these eye infections like every now and then. I wouldn't be able to put it together for some reason, and I don't know what it is. Like maybe when I was a kid, I think if I were to like really do a deep dive on myself, like when I was a kid, my parents would ground me, and then they wouldn't like hold to it, right? So I was able to like kind of maneuver my way around things, and I was able to get what I wanted, like without like abiding by the rules. I would bend the rules a lot, I would break the rules a lot, and I would just be able to get what I want, like in school and whatever. So I just never was able. It was never able. I never really learned like the cause and effect, and that's obviously not how that's not obviously not how the world works, right? So this book actually helped me understand like how important it is. Like everything that you're doing will result in the future, right? And then another big thing was like is like just because you're working on something now, you don't see results. The results aren't linear as well. And the example that I remember from that book I read like years ago is like how bamboo grows, right? It's like bamboo grows. They spend hell long growing the roots. I forgot it was like 5 years will grow the roots, and then over the course of like a few months, it'll shoot up like 30 feet, right? I don't quote me on the actual numbers, but the idea is like you're building, and then the results you don't see any results until way later. And a good example of this is like when we for our company, our software company, like it took us like 6 or 7 years to see $1 million in recurring revenue. Like 6 or 7 years, we're just like building. Like we're just seeing really incremental results. And then 7 years is a long time. And then like by the time we hit it, like it took us like probably 1 year to hit 2 million, right? And then from there, it just kind of took off. So it wasn't like that first 7 years we were doing nothing. We're building the foundation, we're building everything in place, getting the people in place to like be able to grow. And then when we were actually able to grow, like that just took off a lot faster. And then even with this YouTube channel, right? Like I've been making YouTube videos for like 3 years, right? Every week or every 2 weeks, I'll make a YouTube video. I made like 100 and I don't know 150 videos, right? But it wasn't until like my 135th video where I actually saw someone get like something get like substantial views. So like every day I'm making videos where I'm getting like 60 views, 100 views, and then one day I get like 8,000, right? And then from there, I'm still starting to see I'm starting to see a little bit of success now, but like it wasn't because of that 135th video I made. It's because of the 134 I made before that, right? Okay, so then another book that I found helpful was called The Psychology of Money. I actually read this book later in life. I read this book probably in my 30s, but I feel like it's helpful because it helped me learn a couple of things. One is people aren't crazy, right? Because you ever think about like why your grandma is like, hey, you gotta hold cash. Like, why do old Asian people always hold cash, right? It's because the government took their cash, the government took all their money when they were younger, right? All they had was cash, right? Why do they buy gold? It's because of their experience, right? And then like my mom was even telling me recently in the last few years, she's like, oh, watch out for inflation. And I was like, that's never gonna happen. And she's like, dude, you don't ever know, like it's gonna be inflation. And then inflation happened, and then I was like, I just didn't think it was going to happen. But then my mom's been through certain situations where they saw high inflation already. So it's like a thing that happens. But then for me, I was born in, I didn't understand, I don't really understand like anything about the financial markets like, until like I was like in my 20s, and like probably from 2013 and 2020, it was like all straight up, right? It was like 2% inflation, and all markets only went up. So and that's all I knew. So basically, people aren't crazy, right? People just are from know things from experience. Like so, for example, like why would I ever pay off my house when I have a 2.75% interest rate? I would never. But like someone that's lost their house before for whatever reason, they may feel more comfort in paying out their house. So then I would think this person's stupid, but they just have a different experience from me. So then that book kind of helped me realize people just have different experiences. That's why people treat money differently. And the biggest thing I realized from this was like a lot of people lose all their money. A lot of people that make a lot of money lose all their money, and they just gave all these examples of how people got made so much money and they all end up losing all their money, right? Because they keep doing the same thing over and over again, and then one day it doesn't work anymore. And this gave me a lot of insight about risk, right? Because like I'm pretty risky, and I made money like just doing risky things, and then like in my mind I'm gonna keep doing risky things, and it's gonna keep going. But then after reading this book, I'm like, maybe I should just slow down and think about what if it wasn't like how I know it, right? So yeah, this helped me just kind of pull back a little bit and just kind of understand, okay, maybe the way I view the world is not the way the world actually is. In the last book, I've talked about this a lot, but I think this book is actually life changing. It's called The Untethered Soul, and if I were to summarize this book in like one sentence, it'd be like, okay, the outside world is a certain way. The world you expect the world to be in your mind is a certain way. And when these worlds don't match, you're not going to be happy. So it's a lot easier for you to change the mind, to change the world inside to match the world outside, than for you to change the world outside to match the world inside. Because it's going to be impossible to change the world outside, because that's not all you're in control, right? So this is kind of like the new roadmap I have for living my life, where you're just okay with everything. Everything's okay, right? And you're just not spending all this time in your thoughts. And another thing is you're understanding that your mind is not you, right? So you're differentiating yourself in your mind. If your mind wants to think things, that's great. If you don't want to think things, that's great. But whatever happens with the mind, like you can stay calm. And I think this book is super important because a lot of people don't realize, and they're just like kind of acting, they're just reacting to things in life, and they're just trying to get the outside world to match your inside world. And sometimes it does, sometimes it happens, but then that's when you're happy. But then you can be happy all the time if you're able to just change your inside world to match the outside world. Well, that's being okay with the outside world. So there you go. That's 5 books that I think you could read. Actually, if you understand kind of the summary I just said, you don't have to read them, but it's kind of helpful to like reinforce these ideas in your mind because you can remember it, you can know it, and then you would forget it. You would forget it like an hour later. So hope you find this helpful. Yeah, if you like this video, feel free to watch another one and like and subscribe if you can. Thank you.